Hello, Fearless Gamers, and welcome to another podcast here on Fearless Games. I'm Matt the Vet, and today I'm joined by...
James the Wildcard.
And the Stark Lord.
But where did you come from?
Where'd who come from?
You.
Me?
Yes.
I came from the internet.
But you never come from the internet.
I always come from the internet.
Are you the Matrix?
Yes. And I have a cool laser eye to prove it.
Oh,
Yeah.
A laser eye.
Impressive, Snake.
Yeah.
So, here's something, little funny little behind-the-scenes thing that we had a slight issue with one of our YouTube videos.
We did?
Yes, YouTube decided that it was copyright infringement to do a book review of The Hobbit.
Well...
That's not kind of
funny.
That's a review.
Yeah, apparently because it was about The Hobbit, they were like, are you sure you own everything in this video? And I'm like, it's a picture of me looking at the camera telling you to buy the book. What do you want?
Well,
I did give them the additional information they required, and they have corrected the issue. But I just found it funny that I was like, you people just flagged this because it has the word Hobbit in the title, didn't you?
Yeah.
And Peter Jackson's like, no, my movie!
Or the Tolkien estate was like, no more book. I don't know.
I don't know, he seems to be more of a jerk to Peter Jackson than anybody.
Who?
The Tolkien family.
Oh no, they're in general kind of picky. Very, very picky.
Yeah, but
That is true.
you don't have the right to say of a review.
Well, apparently that's been an ongoing issue now with stuff like, there was apparently like this video game company that told this one video game online personality he could do a YouTube video of him playing the game and giving his opinion on the game.
Right.
And then the guy's opinion was all bad because there was so many glitches
Oh,
and issues with the game.
You're talking about the
and
Total
the company-
Biscuit Gary's mod,
Yep.
Gary's incident thing.
Yep.
And
the company was like,
yeah.
You didn't tell us you were going to say something bad about our game. Off. We never gave you permission.
No, what happened with it was Total Biscuit Gary's mod incident. You can look up, there's like 15 videos on it.
Yep.
I like Total Biscuit, so I watch way too much of his stuff. But he did a review, then he was flagged for copyright infringement and stuff and not having permission to do a review by the original owners of the company. And, YouTube obviously goes with the original company, and they're like, no, here's the proof that they not only gave me the permission, but said, please do this. And he sent them all the emails to YouTube from the guy saying that he could do it and giving them permission to do it, and they eventually revoked it. But it was a crazy thing. In general, there's a big issue with YouTube right now. In general, people haven't noticed with doing reviews. You can't have certain, like if you have gameplay videos, they can be taken down really fast. Just because
Which is one of the reasons one of the ideas for another segment on the channel hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah, because right now with YouTube, you have to not be careful, but there's like an auto check for all that stuff, and just they'll take it off.
Yep.
It's kind of a thing.
It is. Speaking of interesting, before I get on to another topic today, how is everybody doing? Any projects or anything you guys working on?
And not too much. I'm dabbling with magnets, but that's about it.
Impressive.
Fair enough. I'm very, very sick. That's about all I'm up to.
Oh. I didn't know sick was a hobby.
It is apparently a hobby, because I'm sick so often.
Uh-huh. I've been working on some miniatures for a new Dornpor video.
Cool. What kind of, what faction?
What faction? It's actually the chaplain that was introduced at the very end of the last video.
Okay, so you're doing some Dark Angel stuff.
Yep. And what's really cool, what I like is a couple months back, a friend gave me some old paints that he had that were still good, and one of them was the old dark green ink, when they went to the pop top, not the twist top.
Right.
So not the original, and it works great for making fabric look like satin.
That's
That's good.
Yeah, so I was like, wow, this kind of looks like I was like, wow, it doesn't look shiny, it just looks like it's made out of a different material from his robes. And I like that a lot. It's the little things.
Yes, the little things.
The little things.
And so I assume you guys have all heard the big grand news going across all the gaming forums lately about GW and their 12% decrease.
No, the only thing I heard is that they're getting rid of White Dwarf.
They are getting rid of White Dwarf, but they're turning it into 2 different magazines. If I understand it correctly, there's going to be Warhammer. I think one is called, I forget what the name is, but it's a weekly magazine that will be basically their catalog. Here's the new thing this week, buy it. So then there's going to be a monthly one that comes out the first of every Saturday or something like that, and that's going to be more like traditional White Wolf. White Dwarf used to be, it's going to have articles on different factions, maybe new rule sets like new data slates, how to paint minis like the old Easy Metal stuff and stuff like that, and be more like the traditional White Wolf. And I keep saying White Wolf. The traditional White Dwarf, and take out the whole buy this item that was in the magazine and put it into its own magazine.
That's good. I mean,
appealing.
It's been a lot of buy this, buy that.
Yeah. I do like that they're going this route. And I do like that GW was nice enough to take anyone who just renewed their subscription to White Dwarf to automatically get the 1 month magazine. And I think the 1 month magazine is slightly more expensive, but they're not charging them extra.
That's good. I mean,
we'll see if it works. It's smart that they're trying to really focus on making a hobby magazine again, because no one really wanted to buy a catalog anymore. It'll be interesting to see how well the weekly catalog thing will go.
I only bought the White Dwarf when a new faction that I was interested in came out.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Because then maybe sometimes you'll get a relevant painting tutorial.
Maybe, but they have been going that direction with their latest issues.
The last one I bought was the one where the Eldar came out, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's been going more and more stuff. I mean, it's still heavily catalog-like, but it's going more and more into
getting a little better,
doing things and showing what their team was up to and whatnot. So that's always good.
Yeah, but yes, recently there was a report from GW that they had that in the half-yearly financials report states that in 2013 they lost they had a 12% decrease in profits due to sales. I believe it's what it was. According to this, the basic sum-up revenue for 2013 was £60.5 million. 2012 was £67.5 million. Pre-tax profit in 2013 was £7.7 million, and in 2013 and in 2012 it was £11.1 million.
Huh.
And they're basically saying, from the reports that they're basically going, Matt is here. 1 second, let's pop him on. Okay. Hello?
Are we recording?
Yes, we are.
Hi.
Welcome to the game. We just went over the fact that GW just announced that they have a 12% decrease in sales and profits during 2013.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't care. I honestly could not care even the slightest bit about GW's profits or the decreases and such. I don't care.
I think I might be with Matt on this. I mean, it's nice that we're getting this information, but it's more interesting what they're doing, not what's going on.
it's the big topic right now, so I figured I would just bring it up on the thingy since we don't have to talk about it if you guys don't want to.
That's okay. What I find interesting on that note is that on a lot of forums, people are very interested in GW's financials, but no one ever really talks about any other gaming company's financial situation like that.
I think it's...
They're like, you know, they're cool to hate, so they like to figure a way to either poke at them, and if something is difficult to poke at, they like to spin it so they can poke at it with GW. You know, it's not fun going, hey, everything's honky-dory in Infinity Land or something like that, or you know, and if they're having struggles, it's like, oh, well, they'll pull through. But anything with GW, it's like, oh, they're making more money. That's because they're milking out of us. Oh, they're losing money. That's because they suck as a company. You know what I mean? People love doing that with them for some reason.
Right.
That is true. A lot of people have been using it as an excuse to say, well, you're losing money because your prices are too high, decrease them.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that it's one of those companies that people are talk about, and it would be interesting to have. I mean, I'm not a financials guy. Like, I really could care less if the CEO of Games Workshop's gonna be able to buy a new Bentley or something, due to the price drop, the sales drop or whatever. But it would be interesting to see kind of like a graph in relation to the big name companies out there. Like, you know, see how in like a bar graph or a line graph scenario of, you know, Games Workshop's one color, Private Price is another color, somebody else is another color, and to see how in relation to each other the financials are going. That would be the only interesting part of that for me. But I don't know how open the other companies are with their funds due to the fact that they're not quite the size of GW.
But aren't also some of them not public as well?
That's my point.
Yeah, like GW, I think, is the only public company out of the big ones right now.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's probably why we have that information. It's just I find it interesting.
Yeah.
I don't find the financials interesting. I find the interest in their financials interesting.
It's funny too because it's the same whistleblowers, if you will, that tend to be interested in stuff like this. But I don't even see why. It's like trolling for the sake of trolling, where it becomes work. You know what I mean? It's like you can't even go, well, I think that's stupid. Now it's like, let me do the research, and then I can tell you it's stupid. It's like, that seems like too much work. It seems like you'd be more effective in being silent than doing the research to go about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because even this negativity is press, and there's really not such a bad thing as bad press, or such a thing as bad press in that regard for a company. Because then it's like, oh, well, why? Let's see why this, and oh, look at this faction, I'll buy it.
No, it's like, oh yeah, I really don't care about this bad thing they're doing. This looks cool.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you really like a pro tip for anybody who wants to hate on anything, the best thing you could do is not bring any attention to it ever.
And though to it here valets, look what happened to Colonial Marines.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother mess of worms.
Speaking of, have you heard of the new Alien game that's coming out?
Yeah, because you showed it to me, and it looks awesome.
It looks like it's Aliens with the Amnesia game engine. So it's less of a, you have guns and weapons on you, it's you have a little radar to tell you if the alien's there, and you have to hide from them and try and get off the ship.
Basically, it looks like, from what I can tell from the trailers, is that you're following Ripley's daughter when she gets older, and she's trying to find Ripley's ship, and she ends up somewhere in space, and it's a horror survival game, which is a fantastic idea.
If it's done right.
Yeah, done right means you probably have no weapons ever, and if you do, they're going to suck, and you're going to be constantly running from stuff. It's going to be, it looks like the idea is solid.
It has potential.
I think it's a really good idea, like they're really trying to capture the alien feeling.
I think it sounds like a great idea, and I think you guys have the right attitude about it. I think it's going to do badly. I think even if it's done perfectly, even if it's done exactly as you guys are envisioning, it's going to get completely torn apart because a lot of people are going to go into it expecting to be tearing aliens to pieces and shooting guns and blowing things up because a lot of people don't care about the horror elements of the franchise, especially looking at the movies. After the first couple of films, the horror elements of the franchise kind of took a bit of a nosedive, and it became a bit more of a action movie, action sci-fi kind of franchise, whereas before that it had been a science horror. So I think even if the horror elements are done correctly and you don't have any weapons and it's basically Amnesia in space, it's gonna tank.
Yeah.
Well, on that,
I have no doubt that this thing is probably not going to do well at all. I would not be surprised.
Well, the problem is that they're doing it exactly right, but you're right, it's going to be Amnesia in space, and Amnesia was very much a niche game.
Yeah.
Amnesia wasn't so much a niche game as it was the ultimate in survival horror, in that it's literally about survival. It was very popular. I don't really consider it niche because every major YouTuber you ever see has probably played it. Like if I believe PewDiePie right now is one of the top 3 earners, it's like top 3 people on YouTube that earns money, and he has a very popular playthrough of it. So I figure if one of the 3 most popular YouTubers in existence has played it, it's not a niche game.
It's a good point. I do think, though, that instead of going super niche like Amnesia in space, if they take a cue and they tone it down so you have very limited offensive capabilities, but do like the original Half-Life, like, you gotta get out of there. The original Half-Life had a horror element to it, but it wasn't strictly pure, oh my god, I'm gonna get scared every corner. And if they can take a mixture of Half-Life and a mixture of Doom 3, without the crazy blow everything up, become unstoppableness, it will probably be more popular with people who want the ability to fight back, but you just have to throw a relentless nature in there. Like, you know, instead of it being one alien, it's a swarm of, like, you know, have a whole bunch where it's like, no matter what you do, you can't fight them off. Or have it where like, you think you killed it, but it came back. Or something like that. Just something where people can get their rocks off blowing things up, but at the same time they have to move along because they can't, you know, they have to get to the next checkpoint type of deal.
Yeah.
I think, like, if they follow more of a Half-Life or a Doom 3 scenario instead of a pure Amnesia scenario, you know, take elements of all, will be better for the success of the game. I just think the Aliens franchise is cursed for games, so.
It might be at this point.
It's a difficult franchise to make a game for.
Very.
You know, I mean, you have these incredibly dangerous aliens that you're up against, and it's very difficult to capture the feeling of being threatened, but also that, you know, there's 2 clear parts of the franchise where you have the horror and then you have the action, and it's hard to capture both of those in the same game. And
that's true.
Even beyond that, it's hard to capture those. It's hard to capture them individually in separate games. I mean, look at the Silent Hill franchise. There's only 2 or 3 good Silent Hill games. You know, there's only like 1 or 2 good Resident Evil games.
And that's in part, aside from the companies doing the games badly, I think to the extent of being scared, horror, survival type of games, when you have like a super specific Amnesia, it works, but I just feel like people are so desensitized now to certain styles of gaming that, especially with Alien, it's like, oh, like, can you really get scared by it anymore? You know what I mean? In a game. I just feel like I think that's
just that they need to keep pushing the envelope.
Well,
and
like with that,
we've reached a point where if we push the envelope any further, there may be laws broken.
Going off of like what James said, I think it is possible because like there are games out there like in the zombie franchise that have gone in a totally different direction, and I felt have brought new life to the zombie franchise because of the way that it worked nowadays.
When you say the zombie franchise, you got to be a little more, because the zombies aren't really a franchise; they're more of a genre at this point.
Yeah.
Basically, that'd be the zombie genre in video games. Though.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were talking about like a specific franchise.
No, the more the zombie theme in a video game, I feel there's been 1 or 2 couple of video games that have come out that have made it better.
Oh, absolutely. The Last of Us is one of the best games I've ever played. The Last of Us had me terrified, had me The Last of Us is actually the perfect example of a game that somehow managed to do horror, survival, and action in the same game. And they did it by breaking it up into different acts. Like, you had the horror survival parts when there's just clickers friggin' everywhere and you're screwed. But then they had the action parts when you're up against just humans. You know, and all throughout there was that clear, direct narrative. And I could go on for days about The Last of Us, so I'm going to stop.
I will say this though, you will have people say, "Well, that's not zombies."
They're wrong.
Then they're
just wrong.
Oh, I'm just saying, you have that classic thing of that's the problem with that whole scenario of that style of theme is that at what point are people going to be saying, like, you're not dealing with zombies, you're dealing with a blah, 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 which is, like, my biggest thing, my perfect example of that,
reasons not to like something.
No, my perfect example of that, not at all, is the movie 28 Days Later. There aren't zombies, they're people infected with rage, is what a lot of people say, and I go, they're basically zombies. Yeah, they're zombies.
Yeah, they're zombies. But that's the thing. People like that are looking for reasons not to like something, or looking for reasons not to include it within a genre they either really like and thus want to keep pure, or really don't like and thus don't want to admit they like a movie in that genre.
Right.
Like I'd be willing to say, I'd be willing to say that somebody who says, "Oh, those aren't really zombies," either hates zombie movies and thus doesn't want to say he liked a zombie movie, or B, loves zombie movies but doesn't want to, like, dilute the zombie formula of being slow shamblers.
I just want to say that I don't like zombies, and I'm looking forward to not having them as a major genre at some point.
That's not
unless they make.
That's never gonna happen.
I know, though. I will play Left 4 Dead 3 if that ever comes out. Just saying.
Well, this is the thing with
you
zombies.
You love The Last of Us, by the way.
I did. Oh, I would. I'm not a huge zombie fan, and I think I don't want to say they're overplayed, but like everyone has a zombie mode, and I kind of wish it would just stop.
Well, zombie mode is just a way to basically do mass slaughter without and getting past ratings, because it's not people, they're zombies.
Yeah, I somewhat agree with Starklord.
Yeah, whatever.
Sorry. I somewhat agree in that zombies are becoming played out to an extent.
Well,
because very few people are doing interesting things with them anymore.
Well, they are and they aren't, in my opinion, with that. I mean, I agree. You got zombie mode everywhere, but I don't think I think that's just lazy people trying to figure out a way to do a, like, survival mode without having it, just playing off that. But the thing with zombies is, it's less the zombie itself these days. It's more of the concept, and the problem is the concept people aren't taking the time to try, and that is the idea of an extinction level event that you have a say in. Humanity is fascinated with being extinct. We're fascinated with it for some weird reason. We love the concept of being killed off, but we want to fight it off for as long as possible. Hence the zombies. And I don't know why we're sick and twisted that way. But going with that though, the problem with the zombie genre is when you go pure zombie survival gameplay, and State of Decay did that. It was basically open world sandbox zombie survival.
Yeah.
The problem with survival, and not even just zombie survival, but survival in general, and that style of gameplay and a lot of gameplay, is that it gets very repetitive. What do you do? Not die. Collect supplies. What do you do the next time? Move somewhere else and not die and collect supplies.
Right.
It's very repetitive and very boring.
Without a clear narrative, survival becomes tedious.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, for any genre like that, you have to have a specific plot, and you have to balance the tedium of, for example, going back to the aliens, you have to balance that tedium of getting through that ship and not dying with something else to break up the monotony of not dying.
Like, you need to know why you're there, what your goal is, But it's funny. Yeah. Speaking of zombies, small tangent. I was watching the Sci-Fi Channel last night, and there was a zombie movie marathon. But James is going to get a kick out of this because he's who I thought of when I was watching. But honestly, it could have been a Ving Rhames marathon.
Yeah.
Because Ving Rhames was in, like, all the movies.
He's in every good zombie movie.
No, he's in one good zombie movie. He's in exactly one good zombie movie, and it was the remake of Dawn of the Dead. Every other zombie movie he is in is garbage, but he is in them regardless.
You know, the garbage are still great.
And all I could think of was the Day of the Dead remake with Ving Rhames, and it was just so bad.
Good. In any sense of being the Dead remake, not even
it's true.
Being so bad, it's good. It's just bad. But it's so bad, but you watch it like you'd watch like a tragedy because you just can't stop watching it. Like
you watch it sort of like watching like one of those YouTube channels that's just people getting into car accidents over and over again.
Yes.
Or
it's
like
not good.
people. It's like people trying to do Jackass but being even dumber about it. Like Starklord, we watched that one parkour fails video of fools just falling on their bollocks over and over again, and by the end of it we realized they were doing it on purpose. It was like that.
Like,
it's like watching 10 minutes of dudes hitting
wait
themselves
a
in the nuts.
second. This guy totally just, did, a groin shot on purpose. It's like, this guy's got an issue.
Like, the Day of the Dead remake is the movie you want to watch when you intentionally don't want, not so much get angry, but you want to watch a remake when you want to watch a movie just so you can bash it, so you can sit through it and say, this is a terrible movie and here's why, because I sat through it. It's one of those movies where you're allowed to
feel better about the choices you've made. You get to feel better about the choices you've made in life. At least I didn't create, star in, or be any part of this.
It was so bad.
It's like volunteering at a homeless shelter. You get to feel better about your own choices.
Yes.
Have you guys ever seen the zombie film Warm Bodies?
I love that
Yes,
movie.
I actually just watched it the other day.
I actually like that movie.
I was shocked at how good it was. I was shocked at how much I liked it.
It's a beautiful movie.
It was very different.
Starklord, you're right. It's just Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I ruined it for anyone, but that movie is Romeo and Juliet, and it's a wonderful version of it.
Yeah, well, you didn't ruin it for anyone. It's basically written on the back of the box as a love story.
Really? They wrote it on the back of the box?
It's also based on a book.
Yeah.
It's also based on a book.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. But, it was really good.
One of my favorite parts was hearing the zombie in his head versus him actually talking. Like, when he's talking to dudes, like, quick, say something human! Say something human! Say something human!
How are you? Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Like, he had that clear... If he hadn't had that clear inner monologue, it wouldn't have been nearly as good.
Yeah.
It was surprisingly good, and I kind of want to watch it again now.
If you haven't seen it yet, I would highly recommend seeing it.
Yeah, it's very good. I very much enjoyed it.
And backing track a little bit, because we didn't get to ask you, Matt, for this, is there anything that you are doing as of now, hobby-wise, any projects or anything you got going on in the works?
I've been sick all week, so I haven't been doing much of anything. However, I'm currently actually, I just found a table. I'm actually looking across the room at where I'll be putting the table. I'm working on setting up an actual, like, battle station, as it were, in my room, so I can actually keep my hobby supplies in one coherent place that I can, sit at and film at and, be a bit more proactive with. Because right now I have, like, a small square foot space on my desk dedicated to it, but I also have a bunch of, like, papers and receipts and stuff on top of all my hobby supplies. Because I just didn't have the surface space. Now that I have this table, which you probably remember this table, because this was the table I had back when we were at Hofstra.
Okay.
And I would occasionally, like, bring it out for, like, games and stuff.
Yeah.
I found it.
Oh, nice.
So I'm setting it up over in the corner in my room. I just need to actually clean that corner out a bit more. Aside from that, I have that one chaos thing that you guys got me. The name of which I can't remember. I've put it together.
Demon Forge.
Yeah, that thing. I've put it together for the most part. I still got to put the tentacles on, and then I'm gonna paint that up.
Sweet.
Aside from that, I think it's just been Nothing. I have some ideas for videos for the channel. I think I might actually be just making a random video series soon called Clowning Around.
Cool.
I see what
cool.
you did there. I see what you did.
Yeah, see, I knew James would like that one. But yeah, the hobby stuff has been on hold for this week because I haven't been able to breathe most days.
Breathing is important.
Kind of critical.
It's clutch. I would say it's clutch.
What you say?
So with that, I got questions for you all.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, a question, not questions. And, we said that 2013 was a year of gaming, and we gave examples.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing, I guess it is 2 questions. I lied. But anyway, the first question is...
Tell me where the truth ends and the lies begin.
I can't do that, because that would be a lie.
Try.
So, do you think that the miniature gaming world is moving towards the acceptance that video gaming is getting, or do you think it's still got a long ways to go before it gets anywhere near that?
I think it's got a ways to go. I don't know about a long ways to go, but it's not quite in the same place that video games are. But that's only because video games are more popular and mainstream.
Right.
Miniatures games are still much more of a niche within the gaming industry. However, the gaming industry as a whole is becoming more accepted. So, I think it's on its way, but it's got a long way to go. I think more miniatures games need to be made that might be more I hate to keep using the word mainstream, but it is the word to use. Just more games with a more mainstream appeal, like a really coherent, a coherent and well-made and well-marketed Hobbit game or Pokemon minis game would probably help the acceptance. But
Star Wars almost had that, but then the stores were like, wait, so but they had the issue where they stopped making the expansions for a while, and retail stores stopped carrying them because of that.
What, X-Wing?
Yeah.
X-Wing's still probably the most mainstream one, and it's doing pretty well, and that'll pick up.
It is doing now. I'm just saying, like, before when it came out, you could go to just, say, like, a Target or a Walmart and pick it up, but you could only get up the starter set and maybe 1 or 2 expansions, and then they stopped making the expansions, and then the store's like, well, if we're only carrying the starter pack, we're not going to carry it anymore.
Yeah, well,
I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Is that you can't get them just anywhere. If you could get them at, like, Target, Walmart, Toys R Us,
Barnes & Noble carries it. Barnes & Noble's turned into, like, a mini
I don't count Barnes
place.
& Noble.
Fair enough.
Not every... Because the thing is, there are a good number of geeks that'll go to Barnes & Noble, but look at Barnes & Noble, then look at Toys R Us, then look at Walmart, then look at Target. Barnes & Noble has the least foot traffic.
True.
Yeah.
And when you go to Barnes & Noble, you're going there for a specific item. When you're going to Target or Walmart, you're going there to look for stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And also,
so
if you look at Barnes & Nobles, they don't all have the same exact content within it.
Exactly. So if minis games could get themselves into these big box stores, then it would help a lot.
Yeah, and going with what you said with, more of them, I think part of that is more, and that'd be good, obviously, but people like to get in kind of on the ground floor, which is why video gaming, it's like, oh, even though the PS3 or the, and all these systems have been out for a while, people don't feel overwhelmed to get started because, a new game just came out. I can get in with this new game, and then maybe pick up some of the back games. When you have any type of game that's got like decades of heritage, if you will,
like I was thinking recently. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
People sometimes get a little bit like, I don't want to get involved. This is so much I have to get into. That's
me with the Metal Gear Solid games. I've been looking at like recent Metal Gear games, and I'm like, that could be fun, but I don't want to get into this franchise so late in the game. And then I look back and I'm like, there's 1,000 years worth of games that I've missed. Screw it, it's not happening.
Yeah.
So that problem exists in almost every form of media. but it is a problem.
Like, to give another example, I think that's why one of the things that I like in terms of watching shows Gundam about, because Gundam is all those Gundam series. It's not like you have to watch one to watch the other.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I love Kamen Rider. It's why I love Super Sentai. Each season is a completely different show, and occasionally you'll have a crossover movie. But if you don't really recognize one of the dudes that shows up in the crossover movie, who cares? You're watching a children's movie.
There's also crossover movie every year.
Well, now there's a crossover that's now every year, but it didn't used to be that way.
Also, I find with those types of shows, type of thing, when they do a crossover, they're pretty good at getting you the information you need to understand.
They're really not. Not always.
I'm just saying, in my experience, there's always been. Like I was just saying, in my experience, there's always been something where there's just a line or something that goes, oh, okay, that's a Kamen Rider, that's a dude from another show, type of thing.
Not always. Sometimes it's just who's that guy? And they say his name, and it's alright, now he's fighting the monster, he's cool. not to complain, because that's part of what I like about the franchise. Oh, I need to take a second. Stark-Lord. Something awesome is happening. There is a Kamen Rider movie that's coming out. It's the Showa Riders versus the Heisei Riders.
Oh god, yes.
Guess who's actually playing Rider 1?
Who?
Hiroshi friggin' Fujioka, the actual friggin'
They really got him? They really got him? No.
It's not just his voice this time, he's actually in it.
That's fantastic.
How
old is that guy?
Old. But for the vet, you would know this guy as Segata Sanshiro.
Oh, I remember him now.
He was the original Kamen Rider.
I remember. He's the original Kamen Rider.
Hold on. I'm going to put a link to this article in the chat so that
that's
people can
just
see.
Awesome.
He's got the belt on and he's doing the pose, and I'm really stoked.
I'm excited. When that comes out, you have to make me take a day off from work.
I will. I will drag you by your hair into my cave and make sweet caveman love to you, and by that I mean show you this movie.
Wait, what?
Huh?
Don't worry, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
I remember I saw a video with Hashiro Hiroshi singing the original Kamen Rider theme once.
Oh, it's him and Rider 2, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, we're not nerds, by the way. Not at all.
Did you guys see that Kickstarter link I posted to the Fearless Games page?
The customized minis?
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance.
It's pretty cool.
Check it out, right? Stark-Lord, check it out. Right? Have a chance. Do you want me to post the link again in the chat so you can?
Yeah, because I don't. Okay. Me and networking don't get
James,
along.
did you see it?
I saw the link. I just didn't click it.
Okay. I think it's relevant to what we were talking about, so I wanted to bring it up.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, the idea is a very cool idea.
It's a very neat idea, especially for role-playing games, because you never back when we were buying the D&D minis left and right, you could never really find a mini that perfectly matched the character that you wanted, and this kind of idea can help with that, because you can just mimic the character.
Another point that they bring up that I think is really cool is that for the Fearless Gamers who haven't seen this link, there's a link on our Facebook page to a Kickstarter for a project called Hero Forge, which is a website.
There's a link to our Facebook in the page.
Link on our Facebook page.
Yep.
Where basically you get to customize 3D printed tabletop minis. It's really cool looking. Check it out. But now that I've sort of caught everybody up, one of the things they mentioned is that with their process, you can actually get poses that wouldn't be possible with 3D injection molds, because you're printing it from the ground up.
Yep, like Lego statues.
Right. So I thought that was really cool too, and that was kind of the part that sold me on it. I pledged $35, so I'll be getting a customized 28 to 30 millimeter character.
Nice.
When it comes out.
That is
and
cool.
There's also this other really cool Kickstarter going off of. I haven't posted a link to it yet because I'm just I just haven't had a chance. But there's this really cool one doing these giant creatures, and they just look amazing. They're basically like these demon-y creatures. Like there's a giant tree monster. Kind of looks like Treebeard a little bit. There's this, like, female temptress, spider thing, kind of reminds me of, like, a cross between, like, a Slanesh and Kerrigan. There's an evil, nasty, like, all these faces and hands thing. There's a Minotaur. There's a dude that kind of reminds me of one of the villains from He-Man. And a bird, warrior dude.
Fancy.
So there's a lot of cool Kickstarters coming out like that. And I agree, I think we need more stuff like this. Because,
it'll help the exposure that the miniatures gaming industry needs.
Yeah.
That's true. Now, going off of that, though, taking it back to video games, because they've been getting so over the top these days with, graphics and this and that, and kind of plot's coming back, There was a time where plot was like, what's plot? Now plot's kind of coming back.
I think plot has sort of, like, it was there and then it wasn't and now it's back.
But people are realizing you need plot to make a game.
You don't need it
for
anything else.
Do you think we'll ever see another game? I don't mean it in terms of the style of game, but for the game having problems like KOTOR 2. Because that game, for those of you that don't know, haven't played, it was basically released unfinished and never finished.
I never played that game.
And it was a great game
played
except for the
KOTOR
fact it wasn't finished.
That sucks.
But it was really good, but when you got to like certain areas of Nar Shaddaa, for example, because it's a Star Wars game, for those that didn't know, it's meant to be the Old Republic 2.
I heard...
And it's like parts of Nar Shaddaa and the characters were kind of just you could tell weren't done. You could tell. You get certain quests that you really can't finish because, like, side quests that you just can't finish because the finishing isn't implemented. Like, for example, HK-47 is in the game again. If anybody knows KOTOR 1, he's a great assassin droid thing. He's in the game, and the whole concept is, well, there are copies of him that are called HK-50s that are hunting you. And you're supposed to be able to actually go to where they're produced and stop them from being produced so they would stop hunting you. But that got cut out of the game. But the dialogue that gets you partially there to figuring out with him and yourself to get there is still there. And parts where you would go, they just can't open the door, but clearly it's a door marked on the map that could be open to get to it, are there. You just can't open those doors ever. So you could literally spend hours trying to figure out what you missed to try and open that door, and it just won't open because it's just not finished. And
I feel like that's possible to happen again, but it's unlikely.
Right. I mean, I was just curious if you think developers will allow it these days, because this isn't an unknown name developer that made this game.
It's not so much the developer allowing it as the publisher allowing it, and we know that EA, as a publisher, doesn't care if a game is finished.
Yes.
So it's entirely possible.
The whole lawsuit thing with Battlefield 4 is clear of that.
They also don't want to
I think it's
care
possible.
about keeping games either, but it's just, I don't know, I feel like because there's been some time between when that game was released and now, I feel like by and large, even if a game's not, I don't know if something like KOTOR 2, the problems that you have with it would come up really. I mean, anything is possible, but I feel like it's mostly satisfied. For example, they have dialogue in the game, just like in KOTOR 1. But in KOTOR 2, you can gain influence or lose influence with a character. In KOTOR 1, it was just over time you gain their trust, no matter what you did. In KOTOR 2, you can actually lose influence. And you had to build up influence because, you can unlock them to be a Jedi or whatever it is. But then some of these characters, like the ones you get, and it's not like you get them late game because the game is open-ended and you can go to whatever planet you want to right away. But there's a character you get from Nar Shaddaa if you're good. Well, you get this one character if you're good, another character if you're bad. But there's one character, Myra, whatever it is, you literally have like 3 things of dialogue. You automatically gain influence as long as you just don't flat out say "shut up, woman," and you basically get max influence and everything's okay. But you can tell there's dialogue missing, but you can't get it. It's like circular logic. You can just ask the same question over and over and over again.
I think part of it is that Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
wasn't there also an issue with KOTOR 2 where regardless of how KOTOR 1 ended, they changed what technically happened?
No. In the beginning, it basically lets you set up with how you want it to end, so you can make in the canon for the KOTOR series, Revan's a man because you play that character in the first game. That's a man.
Yeah.
And in the second game, you're supposed to be a woman. That's the canon. But you can make whatever you want in either. And the beginning setup for determining what happened in the first game is done through dialogue where you get to choose what you want to have happened. Did you want Revan to save the Republic? Did you want to basically doom it? Did you want to be a man or a woman? Stuff like that. So you get to set it up how you want. The problem is that that setup does have effects on how the game, certain parts of the game, nothing super critical, but the way certain things are set up throughout the game with that is just blatantly just not finished. Like, you're straight up left with a quest you just can't finish. Or at least I couldn't in all the playthroughs I've done. I just played through again recently. You have to find a new fueling depot thing or a new fuel supply for the facility of hovering over Telos. And you basically find it. Some hut has it, but when you talk to them about it, you can't actually finish the quest. It's just really weird. And it's just, there's a lot of open-ended stuff left there, and a lot of things just left uncut. And if you hack the game and get into the files, you can actually open up certain things and kind of finish the game off. But I was just curious if you think that level of not being finished would be permissible these days.
Well, I mean, look at Colonial Marine.
It's certainly permissible in that it's certainly something that can happen, and I would even be willing to say probably will happen again one day. I think the only reason it's less likely that it will happen is because most games that are made don't try to do as much as KOTOR 2 did. Most games that come out now try to do overall less.
Yeah.
And as a result, they're easier to finish. Games aren't as long as they used to be. Games aren't as ambitious as they used to be. For the most part, you get your fair share of long, ambitious games. Don't get me wrong.
Dark Souls.
But
Souls.
right, you know, the Last of Us, Assassin's Creed 4. Those were both, and they weren't necessarily long, but they did a lot. Yeah. In my opinion, at least. But then you get games that are like kind of short and not very ambitious. Not to say they're not fun,
right?
But for example, the Darksiders franchise.
Yeah.
They're not long. They're not ambitious. They're fun as hell.
Yes.
But you're not going to see those weird unfinished situations in a game like Darksiders.
That's
in a
true.
game like God of War. In a game like Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it's. I think that's the reason it's less likely, but it's still certainly gonna happen eventually.
Oh, yeah. And
the next major ambitious game that comes out is gonna have that problem.
Yeah. And what you bring up is true about kind of like length of games in general. And my rule of thumb is if I enjoy the game, it was really fun, and let's say the plot is really in depth, and I enjoy it. If it's a 4-hour game, I'll want more, but I won't necessarily feel like it was a bad investment on my part. But
yeah,
by and
exactly.
large, what I do with games is I break it down into how much did the game cost, how many hours did I get of play out of it, and if I can bring it down to roughly $5 to $10 an hour, then to me I feel the investment was returned. I mean, for an example,
I think you can also add a third. At least for me, I add a third of how much fun did I have per hour.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know,
but
like
I mean,
how much was each hour worth? Was this hour worth $20? It might have been.
Right, but what I mean is, like, obviously if I leave the game on for 3 hours, that's not going to count, because it's actually playing it, and not just
exactly.
On it. But, for example, it's really cheap now, I forget how much KOTOR 2 costs. For all of its shortcomings, that game you can play for easily 24 hours in total gameplay just to finish it off.
Yeah.
Right.
So you get plenty of bang for buck scenario out of it. It's just, you're left feeling kind of blah at the end, because it just ends before you realize you're at the final planet And before you realize it, you beat the game. You're like, this is the ending?
And the ending was one of the main
yeah.
things that wasn't finished, and that kind of makes the game a little lame.
Especially considering
That's
whether
us.
you're really good or a really terrible person in the game, the ending is the same.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Minor dialogue differences, but that's about it.
Yeah.
No matter what
Like
you do,
playing that game, like KOTOR 2, gameplay way better than KOTOR 1. But because they didn't finish the ending of that game, not as good as KOTOR 1 on the other level.
Right. But in both games, you get a lot of hours of solid gameplay out of it. So you're not necessarily... It's not like saying KOTOR 2 is a terrible game, especially when you look at the amount of gameplay you get out of it. That's why games like Assassin's Creed and games like Red Dead Redemption are so cool, because you get lots of gameplay hours out of that game. Where, like, not only do you have a pretty fun storyline in those games, pretty fun plot going on, but you get hours of gameplay. So that $60 investment can turn to almost, if you want to do absolutely everything, it could almost be $1 an hour in terms of investment.
Yeah.
Because you're doing so much.
But at the same time, I don't know, I just feel like the enjoyment's the most important part. If a game's only 2-3 hours long, it could still be worth paying the money for it if it was enjoyable for that amount of time.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Like,
it all depends on the fun per hour as well.
Yeah, I always find it as, did I enjoy the game regardless of time? But
yeah,
if the game isn't going to blow me away type of deal, but I still have fun with it, then I want the game to at least give me the most amount of fun I can get out of it in terms of time. Like, I have a game that's just an epic in every sense of the word. I don't care if it's a half an hour. I'm going to enjoy it. But if the game is just like, oh, this is an average game, but I'm just having fun playing it for hours, then, it's kind of a give and take scenario. Where, for me at the very least, I don't know how anybody else quantifies it. It's just,
I think everyone quantifies it to an extent, just maybe not consciously.
right. I mean, it's kind of like this, it's almost like a movie. Although I do feel movies are just, I feel like the 2 hours is the new standard for movie time, which is terrible, because I remember when movies were 90 minutes, and it was just a perfect amount of time to get everything done. But for the most part, for the majority of movies. Now, like, every movie, even if it doesn't need it, it feels like it's 2 hours long just because.
Yeah.
It's really annoying.
That's true.
I like 2-hour movies, but I do miss, like, 90-minute movies.
Right. I mean, like, sometimes a 2-hour movie is appropriate, or longer, Lord of the Rings and all that.
Well, that's one of the things I like about the horror genre. They really don't go much over 90 minutes, unless it's a really, really crappy horror movie. Like, a well-done horror movie doesn't go much over 90 minutes in general, because they realize, we can't do this for that long.
Yeah, but which makes you wonder how long some of these modern stuff were, because... apparently Paranormal Activity is out again, by the way.
Yep. A new one, the Marked.
Yeah, the Marked ones or whatever.
They've already signed on for a 5th.
I'm not surprised. I don't...
It's like the Saw franchise.
I don't like the Paranormal Activity franchise at all. I think they're really crappy movies. However, I own the first one because I was looking into other, like, found footage movies at the time, and I was just curious. But now, whenever I see one on Netflix that I haven't seen before, I'll put it on and I'll paint. Like, they're my favorite movies to paint to. My very favorite. Well, exactly, I don't have to pay attention, and then when finally something spooky happens, I look up and I go, oh, hey, that's an interesting effect. And then I look back down and I keep painting.
That's how I feel.
They're perfect. So, I hate them, but at the same time, I love them.
Yeah, but
they've been
kind of like the vet said with the Saw franchise.
Oh.
That I can't believe how long that went on for series. And I remember, Matt, when we were hanging out at your house, and we had it was a sci-fi channel, and we were looking at it, going, "What horrible sci-fi original is this?" And then the commercial, and it was trying to be one of the Saws.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, this looks like a sci-fi original movie at this point. It was like Saw 15. I don't know which one it was, but.
And I think with the time you're talking about, I think you then, when we realized it was a Saw movie, you went, didn't he die in the third one?
Yeah. Pretty sure he died.
He does.
Yeah, it was...
Well, I think there was... I think it's going on to, like, oh, he's dead, but he had these plans all built, and they're self-automated, so they'll run though he's gone.
He was back. He had, like, a protege or something.
Like, one of them he planned everything before he died, and another one he had a protege. That's about all I know.
Well, there was one with a protege in the one that he died, and he ended up killing her because she failed.
Yeah, and then there was one that we saw on Sci-Fi. I don't know which one it was, but he was back, like straight up back in action. And I looked at you. I'm like, what is this?
And then it turned out to be. I do remember that. I remember that very vividly. I remember
like that's how bad that got.
Oh, James, what was the name of that movie that we watched? You brought to my house. It was. I don't know if it was like it was some kind of martial arts movie where it was like cops doing like a raid on.
The Raid Redemption.
The Raid Redemption.
I'm putting that in.
So good.
It was super good, and I recently was thinking about it, and I couldn't remember the name, so I'm just putting it into my Google so I remember it.
Yeah, it's the Raid Redemption, and it's basically also Officer Brutal with Officer Brutal fighting Little Brutal.
Oh God, I remember Officer Brutal. Oh.
Wait, the guy's name is Officer Brutal?
No, but
he is Officer Brutal.
Okay.
So, with that, we are out of time.
We're out of time?
Yeah.
Alright,
so, thank you all for listening. If you haven't yet, check out our Facebook page. We've got cool content there, news articles, caption contests. Like, we got one that's ending next week. And also, keep tuning in if you haven't liked and subscribe us. That way you see these videos as they come out. And until next time, Fearless Gamers, this is Matt the Vet.
James the Wildcard.
The Stark Lord.
And the late Matt the Clown.
Saying...
Wait. You're not dead yet.
I'm working on it.
It's true. You're still alive.
I'm working on it. By the time this comes out, I'll be buried.
And maybe the Stark Lord will decide if he's is or is not the Stark Lord.
Yes.
Saying, take care.
Peace.